Are you ready to think big and act bold? Then you are in the right place. This is Innovative Entrepreneurs, a podcast that will bring you the stories, insights, and tips from some of the most successful and innovative entrepreneurs in the world. I am your host, Erica Bailey, and I am here to help you start, scale, and sustain your own entrepreneurial journey. Let's get started. Today, I have a truly inspirational guest. He is also one of the best people I've ever met in my life. He is a true gentle man, and he's got a lot to teach. So I'm excited to have you on today. Steve's journey is a testament to the power of resilience and the entrepreneurial spirit. He started his career as an athletic trainer, a science teacher, I didn't remember that, where he found joy in mentoring and educating students. However, seeking more freedom and direction, Steve made a bold transition into the world of commercial real estate. We're going to talk all about that. Now, he is the director of acquisitions at Legacy Developers. Steve has leveraged his diverse experience to excel his role. His story of moving from a stable W-2 job to navigating the dynamic landscape of real estate is sure to inspire many, and I guarantee you he has some cool stuff to say. So, welcome, Murph. What's going on, man?
Not right there. You're right there. That sounded pretty damn good.
Oh, well, we wrote that, but that's okay. It's exactly what it should be.
No, yes, thank you.
Yeah, of course, man. Like I said, you're one of the true gentlemen in this world, as well as Joe. So, talk to me. You started your career as an athletic trainer, and I remember that, and then as well as a science teacher.
Yes. Had to do a lot to make ends meet back then. I started out at private high school. My degree was in sports medicine. Got in the athletic training. I was there 10 years, and 9 of those 10 I was teaching. So it was basically just one of those situations where, you make X amount of money as just the athletic trainer, and they say, hey, I got a full-time teaching job. Would you like to take it? And I'm like, well, yeah, got to start paying some bills and pay back these college loans. So yeah, of course. And just learning as I go, and then getting to kind of connect with, students on both sides. Because, I love connecting with students on the athletic fields. I mean, that's really what inspired me and really kind of motivated me on the sports medicine side of things. And then getting to see the other side of the classroom and how can I help the students on that aspect. And I've been science in the background. That degree allowed me to do that. And that was...
Yeah, I was going to say, the science and the athletic training, it goes together, right? So you were...
I was fortunate enough to kind of say in that scope of practice, I literally taught a sports medicine class, which was tremendous. That was one of my favorite things I'd done, because it was a senior elective. A lot of my seniors went on to college to do sports medicine. So that's the true epitome of when you feel like you really motivate somebody, inspire someone, when they just literally take your path. And then I even have a few favorite students who went to Rowan University, where I went and got the best degree in athletic training. And so then I truly felt like I inspired someone to literally take the exact path that I went. So that was awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He's had a couple of good stories, but they're the big wins when, someone sees you do your job and goes, wow, this isn't what I thought the job was. You actually know some stuff. I'm like, yeah, I know a few things. And then they see how in-depth it is, and understanding what it is I do every day, and getting to see how much fun I have, and, connecting with coaches and working with athletes. And they say, wow, that's something that I want to do. And that, to me, like that's like the epitome of it all, right? I mean, if you can really, truly ingrain that type of reaction in somebody, it's a tremendous win.
Oh, that is so fun. I got goosebumps. Thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, so you went from, and so this is the side I know you on. You went from a stable W-2 job, something that you truly love, into a completely different world, which is commercial real estate, which I know you truly love. So that's an odd transition there, Burp. Talk to me about that.
I think really the big thing that I caught on to was the fact that I did love sports medicine. I loved the knowledge. I loved the actual job itself. But really what I was truly in love with was solving challenges and solving problems and helping people come up with solutions to get them whatever they needed. So there really was no, difference in a kid coming in with a hurt ankle saying, Merc, what's wrong with me? Fix me. I got a game coming up this weekend versus, a real estate situation, dealing with, underwriting, basically that's diagnosing, right? Underwriting the deal, putting the right numbers together, trying to find a win-win. Obviously, we're buyers, so we're looking for the right price on things, but getting to know a seller, getting to know those conversations, what can help them, trying to find win-win scenarios. It's literally synonymous with what I've always been doing. And when I kind of started looking at it that way, things started to transcend. I'm like, wow, this actually, like, my life wasn't as much of a 180 as it sounds. When you think about, I went from sports medicine to commercial real estate, how the heck does that happen? Really just taking those passions and translating it into what works. And I was fortunate, my brother Joe owns the company, and I happened to reach out to him because, nothing to hide. I was fired from teaching for not wearing a mask, right, during COVID. So, yeah. So we can go into that whole story too, but that's really what happened. And that's a whole long story, but obviously with COVID in New Jersey and especially the teacher side of things, it was a lot of weird rules, and they weren't, weren't really helpful for our students. So, I put a stand on that. And then, that's really what ended that path. And it ended up being the greatest thing that's ever happened, and there's always positivity in everything. So I'm always someone who can find that. But yeah, going in, and I kind of started with many different seats. With Joe, we had a mastermind. I was dealing with education and networking inside the mastermind group. And then I'm kind of watching everybody do acquisitions. And I'm like, I don't know, man, that kind of seems cool. That kind of seems like that might fit what I like to do a whole lot more, trying to find those deals, have those conversations, put the pieces together. And then that really started about a year and a half ago. And that's kind of where I'm at now. And now I'm running a whole team, running the acquisitions department of it all, and really just basically finding the passion that connected with me and how I can bring it to the commercial real estate business. And that's where we're at.
So you got to give Joe a plug, because I know what an amazing man he is. So give Joe a plug for us and tell people where they should check him out, right? Will you do that?
Yeah. I think, you had one of these questions later on, but Joe is he's my brother. So we're about 5 years apart, maybe 6, I guess. He's always been a mentor to me. I mean, I've, growing up, he's always been someone I've looked up to, naturally, as younger brothers always do. And he was an entrepreneur literally from day one. I mean, he was in the military. I think he had a job for maybe 6 months and then realized, screw this, and went to the entrepreneurial world. And we had the same mother. He's actually my half brother. So he has a father who was an entrepreneur. So he had a little bit of an understanding what that was. But I could tell you from the mom's side, our family on the other side, it's like, wow, Joe, what the heck are you doing? That is wild and crazy. And, when you see the work he puts in and his efforts and the success that he's had, you kind of wonder, and you go through those, mindsets of like, wow, he must be really lucky or something like that. You always think when you're coming from that safety zone and you're just working those W-2s, right? You just do the American way. You go to high school, you go to college, you get a job, and you work for the man, and when you see somebody do the exact opposite, work for themselves, you're like, wow, like you're really lucky. You made it big. But once you dive in, and I think that's kind of part of that whole transition, going from that W-2 to entrepreneurship. And one of the big things you learn is it's not easy. Every day is a challenge. Every day is a struggle. There is nothing easy about it. There is nothing lucky about it. You're grinding. And now you respect what Joe's done for the last, I guess, 20 years. He's been in real estate. So yeah, I mean, he's been doing this for a while, and I've been in it for 2 years. I'm like, man, 20 years is a impressive run, and they're still going. Got 20, 30 more years. So, it doesn't stop.
So, we talk about, you shared with us that you ended up being pushed out of school because of your own opinions, and trying to protect children as you see fit. But what do you think is your why now? It sounds like your why back then was because you loved working with the kids. You loved being a part of that whole athletic side. You loved helping them find their place in the world. But what is your why now with this company? Because I'm assuming it's shifted, right?
I almost have like a business why and a personal why. And the personal why is really what is my purpose here on this planet, right? And that doesn't change. I mean, my why is always still to motivate, and inspire. And that's just who I am. On a side note, I'm a boxing coach. We have professional and amateur athletes. So I'm working with athletes still. So I'm still doing that on the personal side, and I love it because, boxing is my greatest passion in this world, which we don't really talk too much about that, but I've been doing that for 28 years. There's nothing I love more than that. But that's one of the luxuries that I have with going into commercial real estate is that I get to do that. I was never able to get in. I box every Saturday. I fight every weekend. And that's the one thing I love too. I'm in the ring for 20, 30 rounds. And that is literally my favorite thing of the week, every week. So I get to do that. I get to coach, which I would have never been able to do with the other job. It allows me those freedoms. So yes, this opportunity can work in real estate. There's a huge upside. So there, I think that down the road, my why is financial help. I come from that Holy Spirit sector, which if you're not familiar with New Jersey, it's some poor areas. We have Atlantic City out there and some areas around there, and we help a lot of kids, and help a lot of kids get to college and get onto the right path. So I want to keep that going. And in the business why, honestly, it's kind of doing it with my brother, right? And his best friend Brian, who's a good friend of mine too. Being along and being in there and just, I'm learning every day. I'm pushing forward every day. I'm doing a lot of uncomfortable stuff every day. And that's exciting. At the end of the day, you go to bed and you're like, wow, I felt like I learned a lot. I felt like I grew, right? That kind of thing. You just felt like you're a whole new person. And when you can do those things, it feels amazing. And it's just help build success. My why is to help grow, share it, follow the vision that Joe puts out there. To have 100 self-storage facilities around the country, learning real estate in general. I'm talking to a lot of great people, and that's kind of part of why too. Calling, any commercial developer or owner who's in a jam or needs to get out, just wants retirement, they have their why, right? And if I can help them achieve that goal, and we take that's what it's all about. And so I'm still kind of doing those things. So you're still helping people. We had the coaching side of the business too. So there's a lot of people helping people kind of thing. And that's still one of my greatest passions. So, that's something that I still hold on to.
Oh, that is amazing. I think it was either you or Joe that told me you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And definitely. That's how, right?
Yeah. And that's something still, that I think, if you're going from the W-2 and you're really looking to get into something yourself and have that entrepreneurial lifestyle and that mindset, that's the biggest thing you have to learn. You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Again, it's never easy. It never will be easy. You're going to do a lot of things that you've never done before. And especially in the beginning, I think, I mentioned the other day, I said, at the very beginning, the quote I was always telling myself, be careful what you wish for, but be thankful you wish for it. That kind of thing. Because that first thought, something happens. You're like, damn, why am I doing this? Why can't I go back to that 9 to 5 and just collect that easy paycheck and just do that? That's the first. And then you wonder, like, that's because I was boring and I was comfortable and I was depressed and I hated my life and I was in Groundhog Day over and over and over again. So then you realize I'm thankful for these challenges. And that's the mindset shift you have to have. Like, wow, I get to go on this podcast, which I've never done before. I get to, maybe the first time you ever put something in the contract, I get to put $1 million offers together. I've never bought anything for $100,000. Now I'm buying something for $1 million. You can do all these things that, wow, that number seems so high, but you're just doing it. You're learning, like, this is what, the lifestyle is like. And you just do these things that you're just like, wow, I don't know, man. Putting on those events that we did, in New Orleans, like my first event I put on, my first 6 months on the job working with them, I had to do an event in Las Vegas. I was like, I got to do what?
Oh, the one in Las Vegas. Yeah. Yeah.
First one in New Orleans. And I'm like, damn, I've never done any of this type. This is crazy. But
man, you knew what to do. Once you put your mind to something, and this is one of the things that I absolutely admire about you. So once you put your mind to something, whether you know how to do it or not, you figure it out. And working with you on that event was phenomenal. I just love the way you do. You just hustle. You just hustled and you had fun, but you were also the most professional man, in my opinion, there, other than Joe, of course. But you just figure it out. Do you think that came from your background in the athletic?
You really thought about it until you put it that way. That's 100% a part of that, because I mean, you're seeing, in the athletic training world, you don't know what's going to walk through that door. It could be a sprained ankle. It could be, you could have someone have a heart attack out. You don't know what you're going to have. You could be literally doing a life-saving procedure. You could just be, putting a Band-Aid on a cut. You really don't know. That's the extreme. So you have to be composed. You have to be able to, that's what they always said too with the athletic trainers. We are like the liaisons to all doctors. We have to be able to understand eye injuries, like things that your general medical doctor will. We basically do that because we have to determine whether, this is a medical emergency. You got to go to the eye doc. You got to get cleared by a cardiologist for this heart issue. Like, we have to have it all kind of figured out. So yeah, 100%. You don't know what's going to walk through that door. You don't know what challenge is going to come your way. And then you gotta, have the answers, or at least know how to find the answers. Yes.
So do you think this whole, I'm thinking about maybe the biggest mindset shift you experienced from moving to a teacher and, an athletic trainer and commercial real estate, which we'll go in and next. What exactly are you doing? But what do you think was that biggest mind shift?
Always kind of go back to, and we'll see this in the culture too, but I always like to look at it as a fighter's mindset. There's going to be times where you're going to be pressed against the ropes. There's going to be times you're going to feel challenged. There's going to be times you're going to go against something or somebody in that type of mindset that's just way bigger and stronger. You just don't know how to handle it yet, but you have to not be afraid to go forward. And we treat that the same way, in business. You're going to get hit with something and you're like, what the heck? And again, you got to go back to that, man, I would never had this problem if I stayed on my W-2, but then you quickly remember why you came here, because of the freedoms you get to have. But you have to have that discipline, that mindset, being like, all right, let's go. Put the hands up and let's throw some punches and let's just see what happens, and not be afraid to fail. That's a big one. That's actually, I started listening to a lot of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, podcast or speaks or whatever you call them.
Her words of wisdom.
Yeah, basically, it's all about this, putting in the work and fighting and keeping the winning on the mindset. But that's really what it's all about. And our whole office does jujitsu. So, we're all in the martial arts world. Again, I've been boxing for 28 years, and I've done martial arts in my teenage years. So that type of mindset, knowing that no matter how big the challenge is, you got to strap up and go. And if you have that mentality, you're good. You will be fine. But if you've never had to do it, and if you're there's people out there. That's one thing I learned too. Look, there's people out there. I have a circle of friends who are just as happy at going in and punching out, and then spending weekends at the bars, right? That's what they want to do. That's their life. They're happy. That to me is death. If you're doing the same thing, you're not living. If you're on the constant, hamster wheel, that's not living. You're already dead. So, enjoy those challenges and be excited to fight.
Yeah, well said.
That was completely ad-libbed there. That was great.
I can see why you get people pumped up to live their own dreams, man. Go Murph. Okay, so let's talk about legacy developers. When we met, I really had no idea this whole world is so big. So what is legacy developers, and what is it that you do there?
Yeah, so legacy developers, we're developing self-storage around the country. We are in 5 states. We have 9 projects right now, 2 of which are up and running. The rest are in different phases of development, and I'm on the acquisition side. So it's primarily my job to find those deals, put the best offers out there, and get them so that they can pencil, so that we have good deals down the road. And not only that, we are right now. That's pretty much the portfolio. But Joe and Brian started this. They've been in business 20 years. They've been developing. We're doing single family homes. We're doing small home developments. We're pretty much doing everything. Whatever we can get our hands on. We are my job as acquisitions is to find the deals, whether it's storage, whether it's multifamily homes, single family home developments, whatever works. That's what we do. Obviously, self-storage is a tremendous asset class. The returns are very impressive and amazing, which is pretty much what we're shooting for. But it's been tough. Interest rates and good old economics lately have been a struggle. But being able to pivot is pretty much what we do. That's the one great thing I love about Joe. And Joe basically always has a solution or a pivot or an angle to take. So working along Joe and Brian, to be on that team, you have to be versatile is the kind of way to do it. You have to be able to handle the pivots, be flexible, be ready to go. And one day you could be like self-storage, and then on a flip of a switch, like, hey man, these deals just aren't working. But there are deals out there. There's always deals out there, even though the economy is tough, interest rates are high, and you feel like there's nobody has money. The money doesn't disappear. It's one thing Joe always says: law of conservation of matter, which is money's not. It's in the circuit, right? So money just doesn't just disappear when we're in rough times. Money's somewhere. People have it, and the same thing with deals. They're out there. You just sometimes you got to dig a little further, dig a little harder, be a little more creative. You have to pivot, and you have to be flexible, and you have to, seek it out.
I just did a podcast about this actually, because everybody's asking if TikTok's going to get banned, right? Well, TikTok is the number 2 search engine and, next to, right by Google. And businesses are really seeing a shift from, impressions and engagement to ROIs. But now all of a sudden, TikTok could just go away. So I just did a podcast about how you need to diversify your marketing efforts. And it sounds like you're talking about the same thing when it comes to commercial real estate.
You have to be able to pivot, and you have to be flexible.
Yeah. So let's talk about challenges. We all face challenges. So what are some of the current challenges you are facing in this market? And how are you adapting? So you talked about moving from, single family homes to, self-storage, but what are some of the current challenges that you are facing, and how are you getting through it?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest elephant in the room with real estate is banking. Interest rates are skyrocket high. It's really getting tough to, especially with construction. That's the big thing. A lot of our, we started this business 4.5 years ago, and a lot of it was raw land development projects. And we're getting 70-80%, bank loans on this construction, and we're 20 to 30. We're doing with limited partners with LP shares. And now you're getting 50 to 60% from the bank, closer to the 50% side, which means you're going to have to raise a whole lot more money or find those investors, which makes these deals a lot more challenging to go forward with in the construction side. So that's kind of one of the pivots had to take over. Now we're looking at a lot more cash flowing assets, mom and pop, self-storages, but even conversions, there's, again, taking advantage of what's out there. Our Kmarts aren't coming back, right? There's buildings out there that could be utilized. Your Circuit Cities, all those things, they're done. They're extinct. They'll never be back. So, taking advantage of that and taking whatever angles you have to do to get those approvals so you can put storage there. And even just, again, finding those little pieces out there in any type of commercial real estate where maybe somebody's in a jam and maybe we can help them out. So that's one of the big ones. And just, finding that private money, that those investors out there, just, really kind of limiting the headaches. I know it's been tough, working with, the LP shares and having 20, 30, 40 investors on a project. If we can really just key in on, one partner to really go through those deals, that's a big, lifesaver. Private equity firms, those types of things that really kind of help us out and really kind of streamline the process for us and not have to worry about, keeping so many people happy. We can just work with our partners and we can all just ride into the sunset together. It's pretty much the the vision there.
I love that you guys are recycling and turning Kmarts and Blockbusters into self-storage. And it's like, rather than building, you guys are literally recycling. I think it's so cool.
Yeah. That's the conversation which, what's great with the zoning is, maybe, and that's the kind of nice shift about the storage industry itself too. Storage used to be, hey, it's in the back roads of an industrial park and it's dirt roads that get you there with some garage doors you open up. But now it is transitioning into a much more attractive site. And they're sitting a lot more in those commercial districts now where it's next to your Walmarts and your Home Depots. And even in those shopping centers, nice glass facades, they're gorgeous. Looks a whole lot better than a Kmart that's collecting rats and cracked walls and weeds coming out of the windows, right? Even the parking lots, all that kind of stuff, so it's an easy conversation to have, and it could be a good selling point. And obviously, municipalities are going to want the money for those taxes. They want businesses in there, right? They don't want something just sitting there rotting away.
No, and it drops the value of the surrounding areas, doesn't it? When you just have this old crazy big building. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So give me an example of when you failed, but you failed forward.
Oh man. I'm always personally working on, because again, you're going to get those challenges. And that's one of the biggest mindset shifts too that's happened. I'll just say kind of recently, is just doing it. So, limiting beliefs, having those conversations, kind of what I mentioned before. I mean, it's, you're having, here's a good example, dealing with brokers, maybe for example, let's say there's a site and, they're asking for $1 million for it. And that's way at, you can ask anything you want for a property, right? So you can say you want anything, way overshooting the market and what its actual value is. Let's just say the value is $400,000. Coming over those limiting beliefs where you're just like sitting there and like, I won't even offer it. I won't even have the conversation with the guy because there's no way he's going to say yes to 400,000. They're asking for $1 million. And then you do some coaching with Joe and a lot of those things too, where it's basically it's limiting beliefs. Like you don't know what the situation is. And then you get on those phones, you have the conversation, and you literally say, hey, look, I'm kind of curious why you're at this number, how you got to this deal. I mean, at $1 million, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm coming in a lot lower. I mean, I was kind of writing it out to be at $400,000. Can you elaborate on why you're asking so much? And they'll give you some information. And a lot of times, I just had a conversation in a similar situation just Wednesday, and the broker said, he laughed. He said, I know. The seller doesn't need to sell it. I think the seller had 20 acres, sold 17 acres to a single family home developer, and this was about 3.5 acres of self storage space, and it's existing. So I'm going off of NOI with this offer, and he's asking, I think it was like 3.2 or over 3 million. I'm like, damn, that's aggressive. He's like, yeah, the seller doesn't need to sell. They just closed on a big deal with the remaining with 17 acres. They're just putting it out there for shooting hopes and dreams. Oh, excellent. But because I called, I said, hey, listen, I'm really looking to purchase around, something around 10 cap. I mean, I can probably go as low as 8. Do you have anything? Yeah, sure. Let me send it over to you. Boom, done. So failing forward, right? The failure would have been not having that phone call because you had that limiting belief where like, there's no way they're going to accept this. Well, you put it out there, you're honest, and I'm an honest buyer. And he's like, it was a great conversation. The broker is awesome. He laughed at it and he said, yeah, look, I'll send you over a couple deals that might work. They're kind of in your buy box that you're looking for, and you have that conversation. And that was one of those things where I said to myself too, I'm like, all right, well, screw that limiting belief idea. Because the worst case scenario, I'm just telling him my buy box. That's it. And for a while, when I first started, that was a big issue for me. It was like, I feel like an idiot offering $400,000 on $1 million asking price. Nope, not anymore, because it opens up the doorway for, hey, just have that conversation and let's see what happens. And they've never laughed at me or all those things you put in your head. None of that's ever happened. They've never called me an idiot. They've never said, dude, do you even know what you're even doing? You moron. They've never said anything negative. They've always said, yeah, no, this is the asking price. Okay, cool. Awesome. And sometimes there's some legitimate, and it gives me a response that makes sense. I'm like, okay, yeah, fair enough. Out of my price range. What else you got? Well,
I love that. That is actually one of the best answers when I've asked that question. So I think you just taught all my audience something specific. So yeah, killer. That was awesome. So what are your goals now, Murph? Like, what are your goals professionally, personally? What do you hope to accomplish in the next 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah, awesome. So, personally, I think I'm at the place now where, I got my girlfriend now. I don't know if I had a girlfriend last time we spoke. So, I'm kind of thinking personally, I'm looking to, kind of go the family thing. Yeah, a little one of those, right?
Do it.
So I'm sitting in her office actually right now. So it's a little I kind of decorated a little with my hats.
I think she did a better job decorating than you.
Yeah, I just have my hats in the background, but family is big for me. So, kind of being a part of that, like I said, we've kind of talked about in the very beginning about how I feel about, being a mentor and inspiration, and especially with kids. And I have, I don't know, 23, 22 nieces and nephews. I got everybody else around my family has kids, but I think it's time that should be on my vision board. And, professionally, growing the business and going and, sharing Joe's vision. And, the goal, the personal goal is one day take that CEO seat so Joe and Brian can sit back on the board and enjoy their cocktails on whatever island they're sitting on or whatever that might be, with their kids and their family. And, and Brian's got a grandson now. So, I mean, he's, well, about a year old now. So he's a grandpa. So they want to, get the grandkids and all that good stuff. So, my goal is to take that spot eventually and, really keep this company growing.
I think that's fantastic. Okay. So for listeners who are considering a similar career shift, becoming, from a W-2 to an entrepreneur in business, and maybe they're just starting out, like what advice would you give them based on your own experiences? And I believe we gave a lot of advice here, but let's close something out.
Build your network. Now, I'll give you the options, but, hiring a coach, joining masterminds, and learning. We say this analogy all the time in the office is fill the pitcher, right? I mean, we're a business of leaders, and a leader creates more leaders. And the only way you're going to do that is if you're filling up the knowledge of your pitcher so it spills out to everybody beneath you, right? So, taking advantage of that, because the benefit of building your network is you get to ask questions. So if you're not asking questions, you're not growing. And if you're trying to take on everything yourself, you're going to burn out. Even in those W-2 jobs, that's kind of what happened to me, right? I took on that teaching gig. I was basically taking on 2 full-time jobs for, a single job salary, and it burned me out. But if you really want to start and you want to scale, you need to have a network. You need to have, again, if you can financially do it, 100% get a coach, hire a coach. I was fortunate that, Joe is an executive.
I was going to ask, is he still coaching?
Coaching, yeah, and he's doing very well with it. We're lucky that in our office he coaches all of the executive staff. So I was fortunate to have that asset there starting out. But I do have a coach now. Through a Denali Mastermind. Lance Knob is one of my other coaches too. He's and he actually comes from the physical therapy background. And he does a lot of work with entrepreneurs, getting them started. And we have a lot of different assets inside our coaching group. And then masterminds, going to events, sitting at tables, asking questions, being vulnerable. That's the biggest one. Be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to look silly or feel like a failure, because I'm telling you right now, that was the biggest thing I learned. Was all those feelings that I had in the beginning, all those fears, all that scary stuff, all those times where I'm saying like, I should just go back to, W-2 job, makes life easier. Every single person you talk to that's an entrepreneur is going to say they've been in the same boat. They might be an entrepreneur for 30 years. They're going to say they felt that yesterday. That was the biggest thing. I remember having this conversation with Joe, and I'm like, damn, Joe, like, I don't know, man. I mean, do you ever ask yourself, like, why are you doing this? Do you ever think like, I don't want to just go get a job? He's like, oh yeah, every day. I'm like, what, really? He's like, oh yeah. Look, man, I mean, you're going to have those highs and lows, and that's the entrepreneur. You're going to have those times where you're on top of it. This is the greatest thing ever. Money's coming in, everything's great. And then you're going to have those times where like, wow, how are we going to do this? How are we going to, make payroll? How are we going to, close on this deal in time? And that's all happens. And so when you have those conversations, that's what keeps you moving forward. So if you keep yourself secluded and you're not in those groups, you will have a very, very challenging time. So definitely build a network, follow people on Instagram. The cheapest way to do it, the easiest way to do it, I think, just follow people on Instagram, Facebook, shoot out, just ask them questions. I mean, that's literally it. Shoot your shot basically and see if they can help you out.
Oh, I love that. Okay, everybody, rewind, listen to it all over again, and then do it again. That was great advice. Thank you so much. All right, so this is called Innovative Entrepreneurs, and I ask every single podcast, who do you feel is the most innovative entrepreneur or person in your life, and why?
I got to go personal. I mean, obviously, I have to go Joe first. We kind of mentioned that in the beginning. He's my brother. I've always looked up to him. he's been super successful, and he's a guy that's just not afraid to keep striving for more and more and more. I mean, which is incredible. And he's already surpassed so many of his goals, so many of his desires. So, when he started 20 years ago, and he's still moving forward. So that's probably number one. And then just in general, I mean, just people who truly find their passions and they turn it into business and success. I mean, I was just talking the other day about a buddy of mine's sister I haven't seen in a while, and just started a baking business. And supposedly she's phenomenal. I just went on Instagram last night and I saw all her artwork and I'm like, it's incredible. And she's doing great. And I'm like, damn, wow, that's pretty awesome. But when you truly find your passion and you make it work, and I think that's the key. I mean, that's what it's all about. And I see that from Joe, and I see that from, just people in my life who have owned restaurants and businesses, and, finding that niche that works for them. And then it's just, you're never working in that sense, right? Isn't that the old saying? Like, you do the thing you love, you're never going to work. That's what entrepreneurial, the world's like too. So yeah, I mean, I have to give that shout out to Joe, because again, he's always been the mentor, always been the big bro, always been the one I looked up to, and I always wondered how the hell did he do it? So now I'm getting to learn how the hell he did it. So that's kind of been super fun, and obviously it's been a key motivator for me.
Well, definitely. I mean, the time that I got to spend with you and with Joe, you both totally inspired me with just your quick tips and coaching, and you guys have a lot to offer. And so I know also how brilliant you both are. You all are. You and Brian, Joe, Stacey, you really do offer value, and you help people win. And I think it's a phenomenal what you're doing. So tell us where we can find you, or Joe, or whoever you want to share. And
well, I had to look up my Instagram handle before I hopped on here. So that's why, for some reason, I always forget it, but it's super easy. It's just S Murphy Jr. 3986. Facebook, LinkedIn. It's just simply Steve Murphy. I don't know if there's links or whatnot, but
we'll put them in the show notes. I know we have some.
Instagram's obviously is probably going to be the best. I'm always in there all the time. That's usually where I do a lot of my connection. That's where I follow a lot of people, ask my questions. So I'm always in the DMs on there, and Facebook.
Awesome. Well, as always, I truly enjoy my conversations with you. You can see my cheeks are hurting from smiling. You just have so much insight to offer. So thank you. You're still teaching.
One more thing I will say too. Well, we did just join a free real estate group in school.com. So if anybody's in real estate and they want to reach out, I mean, that you'll connect with me and Joe.
School.com?
It's school.com, but the group is LBREA free. So it's Legacy Blueprint Real Estate Academy. A lot of real estate guys in there ask the questions. Joe and I are very active in the group. So pretty much we'll be the ones answering a lot of those questions, but it's free. It's ultimate. And if you haven't checked out school.com, it's a phenomenal platform for any type of education, really. A ton of things in there. So check out school.com.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And as always, thank everybody else. Thank you again, Murph. I just enjoy you.
Appreciate you so much. And good luck, and let's stay in touch.
Wow, what a great episode. I hope you had as much fun as I did. If you want more of this goodness, make sure you subscribe so that you get notifications for future podcasts. And if you found value from this, please share it with others. You can visit our website at cwgdigital.com. This is Erica Bailey. I am your host, and I will see you next time.